The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ. Salute.
And it is Friday in the Riv, and things are popping here. So we've got some big stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, well, let's get right to that first and foremost. I'm bringing up that letter right now. It seems that on Wednesday, the Harbormaster, I believe it was Wednesday. Yep, the 13th. It was on the 13th, taking effect on the 14th. The Harbormaster decided to resign. I can't condense his resignation, so I feel that we need to bring up some of the reasons why he resigned. He opens his letter to Mayor Coogan with, "It is with regret that I submit my letter of resignation. Although my time with the City of Fall River over the past 8 years has been productive, the current administration," notice what he said, "the current administration has made my job exceedingly difficult and unpleasant." And what does Paul always say if you're not happy?
Get
leave.
out. That's it.
Yep, leave. As I made you aware last August now, the Fall River Police Department just transferred all of the Harbormasters on water responsibilities to the fire department. I'm not allowed to have any access to my budget, any of the Harbormaster's accounts, or funding transactions within the Harbormaster department. I have previously written to you requesting access to view my accounts and was denied. Now, this is a man who's in charge of one whole department, and he was denied. This past week, I became aware of a fraudulent, I'm going to say that again, of a fraudulent document submitted to the Homeland Security Department that named me as the responsible party for the safety plan in the fireworks event. I had never seen this document, nor was I consulted. The signatory indicated they had the full authorization to sign on my behalf. I reported this by email to the chief of police and never received a response. I am pursuing this matter via another agency, most likely through Homeland Security. I brought the attention to the city council, and that he did, that there was absolutely no safety plan for the fireworks event that was only 4 days away. The police chief relayed to me that you, Mayor Coogan, considered it insubordination and gave the chief permission to fire me. Instead, I worked throughout the weekend to secure the services of a neighboring Harbormasters and provide a safe and orderly event on the waterway, as I have done for the past 8 years. I assumed there would be retaliation towards me after the July fireworks event was over. Today, I was notified by email that going forward, I will no longer have authority to make purchases for the Harbormaster's department, and that the police department will now assume control of the Harbormaster budget. I would like to add that in the 8 years I have been here, my budget has been decreased annually, and I have never once gone to the city council for an additional appropriation. I have reported the Harbormaster department like a business. I've operated the Harbormaster department like a business, and we get by on $25,000 budget. This includes my salary of $2,500 annually, and maintenance, fuel, and equipment for our boat. This past Saturday night, I was advised that a visiting boater fell in the water at the dinghy dock. I immediately ordered a safety ladder and was scheduled to pick it up and install this today. Our primary response vessel has had an electrical issue and is out of service. I immediately planned with DPW to borrow a truck and tow the boat to the dealer tomorrow. After receiving the no purchase policy email, I responded back to my supervisor that I had these two pending issues that I considered urgent. I received no response from either. I did not move forward with the correcting other issues, both of which I consider urgent and should be addressed immediately. Under these conditions, I do not feel that I can provide a safe environment for the boating community or the crew of the Harbormaster Department. Therefore, this is my letter of resignation as Fall River Harbormaster, effective 7/14/2021, Bob Smith.
Well,
that's pretty damning.
Let's start off with the biggest thing. He is alleging, and I'm saying alleging because we have not confirmed it, but it is in writing. You just read it, that they defrauded the federal government. They put in a plan that fundamentally wasn't really a plan. And that's again, a very serious public safety issue. And it's a crime. And, again, what we see here is the dictatorial nature of the way the mayor runs the city. He runs it like the school department. Isn't it ironic that they've made all these transfers, and if you don't like it, that's the way it is? Well, I'm just going to give you my perspective. In that letter, he said that they've given the jurisdiction over to the fire department, and the police department is taking over other duties. Well, the fire department's got no business being a harbor master. Fire department, if they're going to be on the waterways, it should be either fighting a fire or effecting a rescue. They don't deal with the same things that the harbor master does. They're not the Coast Guard or the harbor master. They really have no, what are they trying to do? Justify that giant expenditure for a boat that, like, we fight tons of fires on a waterfront, like we have a major waterfront like New York City and tons of stuff? Personnel should be on the trucks fighting fires. Same thing with the police department. Why are we tying up police personnel with the issues we have in this city, with the crime and the shootings and the drugs, doing harbor master work? Harbor master work is about boating safety, etc. It was there for a reason. The job is there for a reason. But obviously the mayor has decided to do what he always does, and that's just do whatever he wants to do behind the scenes and point his finger. And if you watched his kickoff speech, we're gonna try to get that video, but this scolding with a scowl about people who don't agree with him. He looked like a third grade teacher scolding a student. That's the way they do it in the school department. Isn't it amazing that all of a sudden we've got this going on, yet the school committee, of which he is the ex officio chairman, covered up, enabled, and condoned fundamentally the behavior of the superintendent of schools. But for somebody else that doesn't fit, you just strong arm your way to getting whatever you want and ignore the law. By law, they had to have a plan. By law, they were supposed to, by law, they're supposed to allow the council to vote on it. I looked at the law. There's 2 sections. So again, this is another classic example of the back door behind the scenes strong arm policies. And as you said, his attitude is, you don't like it, leave. I'm the boss. So there's no consideration for the taxpayer. There's no consideration for the community. It's all about the good old boy network and putting up everything that he wants and every agenda. And if you don't agree, heaven forbid, you don't agree with the way he spends money or does something, he's going to tell you right now that you don't have any business questioning him. And he's going to tell you that like you're in the third grade. Somebody should have told him that they actually have classes for politicians, and you know this, CJ.
Yes, I do.
On how to make the proper hand gestures. And it's not this. Because in Fall River, if you do that and you're close enough to the individual you're doing it for, they might break your finger off.
True.
You know, we can do this. Not this. But that's a Freudian slip. It showed the other side of Paul Coogan.
Right.
Not the everybody loves me, Paul Coogan. It's like, if you don't love me and do everything I tell you to do, I only have one thing to tell you. Get lost.
Exactly. Now, in regards to this letter, I have received information from several reliable sources that the police chief stated to city councilors that a sergeant or somebody else filed the Homeland Security report. They said they never signed Bob Smith's name. A copy of that Homeland Security report was made available. It's not even signed by a police officer. It is signed by the fireworks company. Now, accordingly, the Coast Guard was supposed to be notified because that's on a waterway, correct?
Correct.
The city didn't notify the Coast Guard. The tugboat company did. So nobody's doing their job.
There you go again, CJ, expecting the law to be abided by. And this is a public safety issue. And the fact is that if they say now they and you know the thing that's really, really amazing? I mean, if you're going to try to cover it up and lie your way out of it, at least get your story straight. So the fireworks company signed it, but they said what's a police sergeant? What is a police sergeant doing dealing with the waterway and fireworks demonstrations and other things? That's not, you know, I have the utmost respect for the police department because of what they do. And what they do is police, not deal with waterways. That's the problem. So we've always had a harbormaster, and that's their job. And then it frees up public safety to actually operate on public safety. Like I said, what is the fire department doing now? Do they have that boat driving up and down the Taunton River, worrying about boating safety rather than having that personnel on the trucks fighting fires? That opens up all kinds of questions. They gave them the jurisdiction. It's not in their wheelhouse. I'm sorry. I mean,
maybe it's because they got that $1 million boat that nobody knew about.
That's right, exactly, and it justified. But that's the bottom line is, look, I knew one thing as a chief: you've got enough responsibility when you go to a fire, worrying about protecting lives and property, and executing the mission of trying to save property and lives, and that's your job. That's your fundamental job. And now you have EMS too. But it wasn't about being a harbormaster or being a pseudo Coast Guard. And especially a department the size of Fall Rivers. They're undermanned now. So what are they? So are they committing manpower to this, or is this just a paper transfer and nobody's doing it anymore? And these are all the questions that pop up, because listen, New York City's got 10,000 firefighters. 10,000. They can have a crew on a fireboat driving up and down a river. But a department our size, if we get 2 good working fires, we're in trouble. We've got to call mutual aid, and it's not their job, and it's not only, it's not right, at least in my opinion, but it's the way it was done. Did anybody know that these powers were being transferred? Did the city council know? Was the public informed that they no longer were going to have a harbor master with any authority? No. Again. Well, I'm going to work on this budget. I got work to do, and that the work was to delay until they could ramrod a budget through. So we know the modus operandi of this guy, and it's not surprising, because look where he came from.
Right.
He came from the school department that always does this.
I want to let the public know that this letter is directly from Mr. Smith, and I'm going to read the email that it was attached to. Attached is the letter that I delivered to the mayor's office, in parentheses, gave to Ann O'Neill this morning, 7/14/21. Mike Lemaire, the other assistant harbor master, has turned in his resignation and will forward a resignation tomorrow. As always, please feel free to share anything with anyone. So there you go. We also have the assistant harbor master leaving. Now, according to what I've been told, so I'm not exactly sure how accurate it is. The source is accurate. The harbor master contacted John Perry at DPW to come and pick up all the harbor master property. According to the police chief contacted John Perry to collect all the harbor master property. And when that happened, there was a whole bunch of rumors going around, which I'm not even going to get into because it makes absolutely no sense. But as usual, with every rumor, there's a small, sometimes, instance of truth. So John Perry made sure that the materials, the boats, whatever the case may be, whatever else was there, was picked up. And I believe he's going to be doing some more of it today because he needed a little bit more time. You can't expect it all to be taken out in one day, and you can't expect it all to just disappear. So, I mean, it is what it is. The other issue was that the city had a problem with was allegedly the harbor master was using his personal credit card to buy materials to repair boating issues, and then he would file for a reimbursement from the city. Now, I don't know if that's a good, bad, or indifferent thing, but he did that. Allegedly. So, again, maybe that's why they got a little upset, because he was spending money and then they had to pay him back for it. But when a boater falls off the dinghy boat, that's the boat they tie up to for their dinghies to go back and forth to their boats in the water, and he falls off of that, that's something that needs to be repaired immediately, because somebody else could fall off that dinghy boat and get hurt. And then we're liable. And on that Homeland Security report, before I forget, it did say on it that the responsible party was Bob Smith. So he's responsible for something he had no idea about.
Yeah, and again, that's a fraudulent representation, you know. And as you said, the big thing is who really overall is responsible for waterways in this entire nation? The Coast Guard. They patrol all the waterways, and I know you were stationed. You lived up in the Great Lakes area.
Yes, I did.
And you know that Coast Guard. There's Coast Guard on everywhere.
Everywhere.
There's Coast Guard everywhere. If you go on any waterway, any major waterway, you have Coast Guard. That's the Coast Guard's area of responsibility. During peacetime, obviously in times of war, they have other duties and response. At one time, little fact that maybe a lot of people don't know, up until very, very recently, the Coast Guard was not even considered a military branch because they weren't in a Department of Defense. They were part of the Department of Transportation.
Right.
They until wartime. And then if there was a war declared, they were shifted over to the Department of Defense. They changed that now. They're looked upon as a military service that are in the Department of Defense now. But the reality is that's their job. As a matter of fact, I have two of the firefighters that I worked with for a very long time. They had 3 of their sons that are in the Coast Guard. To my knowledge, 2 of them made a career out of the Coast Guard. And they were stationed up on the Great Lakes. They've been stationed in Maine. But, I mean, it just goes to show that this administration doesn't care about the law unless it benefits them. They're going to send the Corporation Counsel down there to argue his opinion. And I'm going to remind everybody that what he brings down is not the law. It's just his opinion. And only the people in a black robe can determine what the law is. But they'll bring it down and beat you over the head with their interpretation of the law. Yet when it doesn't suit them, they just ignore the law. We had a CFO admitting she violated the law. Boy, I hate to tell you this, guys, but she has a legal and fiduciary responsibility not to violate the law. But what's being done about it? The same thing that was done with the superintendent of schools. Nothing.
Bupkis.
That is malfeasance of a public employee. Look it up. Look up the definition of malfeasance. Well, guess what? That was malfeasance. And not only that, it was a crime. You violate the law, it's a crime.
But if you're Alan Rumsey, the law is advisory.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Board of Bar Overseers thinks that someone who's a lawyer, which she is, violating the law is not a violation of their canon of ethics.
Right.
And also the CPA Board of Overseers, whatever they're called. I don't know CPA, the CPA Board of Review or whatever the hell, but I know they have an entity that is commissioned to, because they are certified public accountants. And they too have a set of ethics that they have to do. And I'm sure violating the law is not accepted. But then again, don't worry about it. It's Fall River. We get to violate the law anytime. But if Joe Blow that I'm trying to get steps out of line for 1 minute, you know what you're told? You don't like it, leave. You're too stupid. Quit school. That's the way it is. So this is a problem. The problem is that, look, if you like this kind of leadership, by all means, vote. If you like it, it's happening all over the country. Let's see what happens. We have a federal government using the Department of Justice as to attack their enemies. We're having illegal aliens flown into Massachusetts and bust into Massachusetts and all over the country. And that's a violation of our law. Congress never voted to allow them to be dispersed throughout the country without informing the communities they're being dispersed in. And one of those states was Massachusetts, because I saw the thing on it. And I can guarantee you one thing. None of them are going to Newton.
I hear you. God forbid they go to Newton. Auchincloss won't have it.
But dump some more problems on these communities that are dirt poor. You got a quarter of the population, nearly a quarter of the population living in poverty, and now you're going to dump a whole bunch of illegals in here that have no education. They haven't been checked for their health status and COVID. They have no jobs, no families in this area. And what are they going to do now? They're going to go on welfare.
Of course. That's, what they, the old saying, when they leave their country, they say farewell. When they get to the United States, they say welfare. So, yeah. Hey, did anyone see the press conference of the mayor yesterday? I know I did. $1.5 million of CARES money. Where did that come from? If I remember correctly, and I called the city councilor and asked them, Mary Sahadi said to the city council that all the CARES Act money was spent. It's gone. So if it's all gone, where's it coming from? Then they're giving that money to Catholic Social Services to manage this money for homelessness and people who are being evicted. Here's the requirements to receive assistance. You'll get up to 6 months of your rent paid. All right. Number one, you must have an order of evictions from the court. That's going to be almost impossible to get because the courts haven't issued any orders of eviction yet. Number two, you must be at 30% of the median income, which puts you at about $10,000 to $12,000. That's what you can make. So a lot of people aren't going to be able to qualify for this.
That's the poverty level.
That's right. That's exactly it. So what good was this to do? This was a feel-good move by the mayor to make himself look good, like he's doing something. I can tell you with a fact, and I have filed complaints with Mike Dion a couple of times about this, so he can say, yes, he has. I have sent people down to Catholic Social Services for housing assistance, rents, first-class security, anything along those lines. Every person that was sent down there was told, after they went through the entire process, from intake to the end, that we can't help you. We don't have funding. Yet, Mike Dion told me that they had just gotten money. So where is this money going? Salaries?
Yeah, another investigator. Why are you getting a third-party administrator for this? And then you have to check them to ensure that things are being done right. But look, it was a feel-good move because this is kind of ridiculous. Everybody knew that people had problems with COVID. If you had a really great tenant, and you have tenants, if you have a really good tenant, has always been on time with rents, having difficulties, you normally work with them. How many people do you know that have had eviction notices issued that a landlord wants to keep? You don't evict your good tenants.
That's right. Not too many.
So what we're going to do is subsidize the people. If you pay their rent, the landlord probably doesn't want them there.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's it's ludicrous. This is another political stunt. What is he doing? He's mini Joe Biden. Throw money at everybody. Let's give everybody $300 every month for their kids, not just at tax time. Let's just throw money around, and that way everybody will forget that the border's a disaster, our foreign policy's a disaster, our healthcare system. Nobody can figure out what the COVID rules are. It's an unmitigated mess.
And that's why
inflation is running rampant.
Exactly. That's why inflation is so high.
Throw money at the people.
I got to cut you off, Chip. We're out of time. I want to thank you all for watching. Please have a very good weekend. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for watching.